Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode, a new interview. This time, we have the winner of the Merida Regional, which took place on the 24th and 25th of January. So please give a warm welcome to Reis2Occasion.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. We finally made it happen. We're here.
Yeah, and since you keep being good, we also will have to talk about other two regional or international championship you attended with very good results as well. So yeah, lots of uh, things to discuss and to talk about. But yeah, as a starter, so for the very few people who might not know you yet, so who are you? What you do for a living? How did you start playing this game in the first place?
Yeah, my name's Chris. I go by Rise or Rise2Occasion. It's kind of like a play on words with my last name. And I started Pokemon Go back in 2016. I was just graduating high school. So, right when I graduated high school, everyone was playing it, and we'd go to the park that summer and everything. Kind of fell away from it by the time I went off to college. I lived in a cold place in Wisconsin. So, in the winter, it got very cold, and that kind of discouraged people from playing as much. I got back into it around 2019 in the summer, and then I found PvP in 2020 when I started watching like Sylph content. So I got really addicted to Sylph like right as the pandemic started, and I was just doing like remote tournaments all the time. And then I studied like digital media and broadcasting in college, so I was like, I could probably make videos of this too, and I started that doing YouTube. I had a few jobs for a few years out of college, and then eventually I started just kind of pursuing Pokemon content full time on YouTube and Twitch, and have been fortunate enough to do some casting as well with the Pokemon Company, and yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, you used uh to be a sportcaster, or maybe you dreamt to be one. What's the story behind it?
Yeah, I always grew up loving sports. It's something I wanted to do from a young age. At first, I wanted to be like one of the sports talk guys on those talk shows or like a radio show. But as I got a little bit older, I was like, I'm not always the most opinionated guy. Like, so I'd rather just be the one telling the story, like be the one broadcasting the game. So I fell in love with that and got to do a lot of that in college. I did hundreds of sports games, basketball, lacrosse, volleyball, soccer as we call it, or football. And yeah, so I got to do a lot of that. And then out of college, like all sports were kind of canceled, right? So a lot of that kind of fell off for a while. And I got a job actually esports casting, doing NBA 2K, a video game. But yeah, still definitely still something in my future aspirations I'd like to get back into. But as of right now, mostly doing Pokemon related content full time.
Yeah, and that's great to see you both at the tables, or in the streaming stage, or yeah, just behind the stage and at the casters booth. You are everywhere, and you are successful everywhere you go. So yeah, definitely great career. Um, are you planning on casting more in the next year? Is this something you would like to continue doing?
Absolutely, yeah. I've told them, I'm as willing to cast as much as they'll have me. So I really enjoy it, and we got a lot of really talented casters. So I think there's only like so many spots. If there's only so many like casters to go around, for each regional. But yeah, I definitely plan on casting as much as they're willing to have me.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Very nice experience to have. And but today we are here to talk about your in-game results as a player. And yeah, you happen to have quite a lot under your belt. Every season you do get nice collection of medals. Yeah, this season is no exceptions. So yeah, you managed to seize the first medal, so the gold. Sorry, the first place medal, not your first one, of course. Yeah, with a I think pretty off meta team compared to um. Okay, sorry. Oops. I wanted to. I don't know. I can't seem to show. Okay, never mind. I will try to add a stage. Okay, that's fine. Sorry. Editor Leonardo here making some mistakes. Yeah. Yeah. So Gurgeist. Let's talk about it because around that time I tried to make the Gurgeist team work, and yeah, I found myself to have a lot of turret problems because everyone just seemed to spam turret against me, and yeah, they seemed to align it always correctly on my pumpkin. And I felt I was either weak to turret or weak to Galleria Moltres or weak to Altaria, and I just couldn't make it work. But yeah, you seem to have found a team of 6 where everything was just in place, and I'm mostly interested in knowing also the reason behind Lapras.
Yeah, I think with Gorgeist first, I identified that most teams only had one check to it, whether it was a Furret, a Guzzlord, or maybe the Galarian Moltres. We actually saw a bit of an uptick in usage in Merida. I felt like most teams only had one solid check to it, and that allowed to, build some like pretty good ABB lines where I often found myself leading the Gorgeist in that tournament because I knew there was only one check to it, and in that case, I could try to dance around or switch out, maybe have something like the Guzzlord in the back if I could flip switch advantage, and oftentimes as well, the Guzzlord was really safe where sometimes a Zoomerol was like the only answer to it, and we know with Sludge Bomb that it's not a very comfortable matchup for a Zoomerol, especially if you're behind energy. So I think Gorgeist like the core breaking potential as well as even against Furret, for example, it doesn't have the chart attack pressure. So it's not the worst situation in the world. Gorgeist against Furret can make that uncomfortable. Moltres is pretty bad, obviously, but the team had like pretty decent coverage and answers for Moltres with the Florges and the Stunfisk. And in terms of why Lapras, honestly, I had a Zoomerol in that spot, I believe, until the night before. And I ended up deciding to swap Lapras mostly for Empoleon because I felt like Empoleon was one of my biggest issues with the team. And Lapras having the ability to win the zeros against Empoleon was a big deal for me. Where if I faced an Empoleon team, I knew it was normally coming against me. So oftentimes I could like try to lead the Lapras, and that way, if I see Empoleon in the lead, I could just try to lose the zeros and like maybe get a shield advantage. Or sorry, not lose the zeros, but like I win the zero, so play the zeros and then get a shield advantage. And then maybe farm down with something to set up like my Caesar with a shield advantage in the back. So Lapras, I just thought it was a little bit better for me than a Zoomerol in terms of against like Empoleon, against Scizor. Like you don't really want to be Lapras against the Scizor, but I feel like you at least have some play there. So yeah, that was the main reason.
Yeah, and yeah, this meta was one rotation ago, so it's worth to remember. It's worth to recall that in that rotation, Matsalap was even more prominent because the nerf didn't took place yet. So yeah, a lot of Gastrodon, a lot of Marowak, and Gourgeist had the potential to break the Matslap and Caesar pair. So yeah, very very valuable. What I can say, probably fewer Gastrodons than we are seeing now with this new update. Probably more Empoleons than now, even though yeah, the Empoleon usage is still very high. But overall, I think the only real change just we had a lot of Furrets 1 month ago, and now we haven't. But yeah, you do have 2 Pokemon resisting the Furret's fast move, and all the other Pokemon actually able to just deal good damage to it. And even Gourgeist, I mean, it is a good Pokemon against a 100 energy Furret. So
Yeah, right.
that's the fun fact about gore guys. It's not guaranteed to be just bad against Furret per se. It has a lot of win conditions, and 2 seed bombs plus incinerate just basically KO the Furret as well.
And interesting enough, looking at the top 8 in front of us, there was a lot of charge a bug too. And I don't think I necessarily was trying to be like stronger against charge a bug, but the Gorgeist being a great answer for that, definitely helpful. Feels a little bit difficult to bring charge a bug against like a Gorgeist UFIS team.
Yeah, yeah, true. Because yeah, Stamfisk alone might not have been probably enough to take care of charge bug plus a Stamfisk counter. Right? So yeah, Gorgas is able to double up on this. So yeah, definitely. I wish I had I wish I had the courage to use the Gorgas team. Just I chickened out at the very end. Are you usually are you a last minute nighttime team changer before the tournament? What base are you?
Usually not. Usually I like to have my team ready at least a few days before, sometimes weeks before. So you mentioned earlier, like I've competed so much at this point. I think I'm at 36 tournaments as we're recording this, which to be fair, I'm not in the 40 club yet, like Stone Collection or Pocket, not in the 40 club. I think Dunebug's in the 40 club. So to compare to them, I'm a casual, right? But 36 tournaments is a lot. So the longest I've ever had my team beforehand was Las Vegas this season, because after Milwaukee, I had a team idea and I just put it together and I practiced with it for like a month. So I remember saying that in an interview, and it wasn't like I was consistently practicing with this for a month, like specifically for Vegas. It was more so like I had the team ready a month before and I just like never changed it when I practiced. Um, but there are situations like Merida where Toronto was the weekend before, and I did fine in Toronto. I got top 16, but I got knocked out right away day 2 by Will D. So it was like a T13th finish. And I just like was trying out new stuff, I guess, the week of. And when you don't have that as much time to prepare, like maybe it's almost a good thing because it kind of like expedites your team building process where you're not like waiting to the last minute. So I changed my team, and it was what's unique is my Merida team is almost completely unique from my Toronto team. It was 5 out of 6 different, and the only same Pokemon was the Florges, and the Florges is running also the Disarming Voice moveset. So even the Florges like had a change to it as well.
Yeah, and in your experience, I mean, this is probably just a clear example of how sticking to a team weeks before might not be necessarily the best strategy, because you won a gold medal just by revolution, yeah, just revolutionizing your team. But isn't your experience really important to stick what you think might work, even if you are not convinced of certain matchups, you are not super into the way you might be forced to deal with certain threats? Is still better this, or just? I mean, I I I am, for example, someone who uh, gets tired of changing teams every 2 or 3 hours, and it makes list of, I don't know, 100 drafted teams until he's not happy with any of them. And then I just change randomly idea at 3 a.m. before starting the tournament. But what is really working? Because is it true that maybe for less experienced players, changing last time might be just really detrimental. But for more experienced players, even putting 1 or 2 small surprises at the end in your team, it's not as is you're not experienced enough with those Pokemon. Maybe you have the added value that no one is experienced equally. And I don't know. What's your thought on this? I've spoken too much.
No, you're good. I think I think you said some points there that make sense. That could be logical, where like less experienced players may be better served like committing to a team and practicing with it more versus changing at the last minute. I'm I've never really been one to like copy someone else's team. I know I'm pretty sure people like Marto at times have like just copied someone else's team in the days before and won the tournament, you know. I've never like done well. I've never really like been able to copy someone else's team because I always feel like I'm weak to this or weak to that. I've always been someone that likes to make my own teams. Um, and I don't think it's like an exact science in terms of sticking to something for a long time or coming up with something new and making last minute adjustments because I've experienced both. I've experienced like practicing one team for a long time before a tournament and doing really well with it and feeling like I really knew certain matchups and stuff versus like NAIC in the second year. That was a season like where it was still you had to finish top 2, right, to qualify for Worlds. So I had already qualified for Worlds that season from Knoxville, and for NAIC, like that was one tournament that I really didn't prepare for, and I had almost never run Charizard before, Shadow Charizard. But I decided to run it, and it was just like a good meta pick. So even though I didn't have like experience with it, I remember like Butters and people were like, he's like an expert with this Shadow Charizard. He knows all the matchups, but like it wasn't really that. It was just kind of like knowing your counts and a Pokemon that happened to be really like powerful in that meta. So yeah, I think what you said does make sense. Like sometimes maybe more experienced players can just kind of adapt to something new, and maybe lesser experienced players might want to commit to learning a team for a little bit more time. But what I think one trend I've noticed for me is like maybe establishing a core, whether that's only 2 Pokemon or maybe 4 Pokemon, that I kind of want to get set with. And that way, even if I am making like last minute adjustments the day before to 1 or 2 Pokemon, like still having a core 4 or even a core 2 that like I know is a solid duo, I think is what best serves me. So that way you're not like totally changing up the team the night before. Because if you totally change up the team the night before, like you might have a blind spot where you're weak to something. Then you like, and you realize the day of like, oh, I don't have an Azumarill answer. So like, yeah.
Yeah, well, good luck not having an Azumarill answer in the jail. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think you made very very valid points, and also hoping that your opponents are gonna be also taken by surprise by your off meta choice. That usually what might do does just most of the job. But yeah, speaking of this tournament, in in what mood are you entering the tournament? Because I mean, you are a long time player, lots of wins, lots of medals. So you know you are basically almost always a big favorite every time you decide to join a tournament, or at least most people can consider you one. And I think it wouldn't be a mistake. So do you feel the pressure of chasing potential travel award? What do you think when you are about to enter a new regional, a new tournament?
Yeah, I could talk a lot about this, I guess. Like so this one thing people probably notice when if they've watched me on the streams and stuff, the casters will often mention the streak of like the only player to win a regional every season. And
Hmm.
this was like before that happened yet this season. So it's something that like I don't know. I didn't, maybe in the first few years, it wasn't something I ever really thought about. And one major reason that I have that streak is because I won in the first season, right? When there was only so many tournaments. So there's only so many people that won in the first season that even have the opportunity to like have this streak.
Yeah.
But it's still something that I think is kind of cool that I'm proud of. And I, coming into this was a unique situation where it was back-to-back weekends. So I was fresh off Toronto, and you're in Merida, Mexico, right? Like you're having a good time. It's almost like a little vacation. And I would say sometimes I fall into the habit of getting maybe a little too serious where I'm like, you know, like just trying to prep the day before and not going out, not having fun, and uh trying to maximize everything. um I think this specific tournament I just kind of let loose a little bit more, where the day before I did like a tour in the Mayan ruins, and I was like out all day on a bus and just kind of having fun, and got back to my room pretty late, and I think I was in a more like relaxed and enjoy the weekend type of mood. And one other factor was this was not like officially streamed. Luckily enough they did stream the matches, but it wasn't, like a big production like a lot of normal North American streams. So it almost like takes off a little pressure in a way where it feels like you're kind of just, playing at a local tournament, or like playing your matches without like, the added the added elements of a big stage or whatnot. So
Mm.
I just felt I especially relaxed and just enjoying my weekend. And I think I have noticed that as well, correlating to strong performances. Like when I'm trying to have fun, and it's a healthy balance, because it's like it, it is fun, to win, right? So like I think in my early days, one thing I've talked about was I didn't want to put that pressure on myself of like having to perform well. So I would say like, yeah, I'm just there to have fun. Whatever happens, happens. And I think that was, that can be great. But I also think I was doing myself a little disservice, where I should be going in with a mindset of like, I can win this. I can do well. So the through 4 or 5 years now of tournaments, like it's still just kind of that balance of enjoying my time there, having fun, but also like taking it seriously enough where like I'm putting myself in a position to do well and to win, I guess.
Mm. Yeah. And so how how long did you have to prepare with this team? Very, very little, as you said. But what about your other screen partners? Do you have usual screen partners? Do you already had you already had some intel about what other players you're friend with were about to bring in this tournament? Hot Pocket, for example,
Um,
or
I typically try not to scrim people that like I know I might be playing against. So Pocket and I are friends, but I think nowadays he used to be like super open with what he's running. I think nowadays it's a little bit more, we're a little bit more secretive. But we're also usually going to be in different groups, right? So it's not like we would play each other anyway until day two. Uh, but yeah, my normal scrim partners are oftentimes out of region players. So like Inadequates, I'll scrim. Home Slice Henry, I'll scrim sometimes just because like he's an amazing player, but he doesn't really compete uh, at the regionals. And like Thorn is another one. SS Thorn, I'll scrim a lot because he only really competes in Canada. Um, so I typically try to scrim people that I know I'm not going to be facing in the tournament, which is like, I think it makes sense, but it's all, maybe you could argue it's like a little bit unnecessary, because what are the chances like you're actually going to face that person or whatnot. But I typically like to keep my teams somewhat secretive. And I remember there was a cup happening the night before that I decided not to go to because it was already pretty late. But there was a cup the night before that a bunch of them did, and I think Pocket did tell me like a lot of them were running Galarian Moltres. I already had my team set from like Wednesday. I think I was running the same team until I did change the Azu last minute. But yeah, I did hear a lot of them were running Galarian Moltres, but I figured my team had good enough coverage against it
yeah,
with my Mons.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, this it's always a double-edged sword, isn't it? When you would like to abstain from screaming with someone you might face, or you know that it is a 10-10 regional. On the other hand, even if you scrimmed with any of them, are you sure are they using their official team either? So
Exactly. Yeah.
at that point, I can just be open with my team with some scrimming partners. I know they want a 10,
Yeah.
and yeah, and just keep my secret pick a secret until the very end. Even because I have a feeling that in the way players team build over the years that this format has been existing, I think now it's harder and harder to build a good team. A good team that really works. That maybe just have a couple of secret picks that no one is respecting, and it's really hard to find um, some disrespected picks and to make them work. So if you think you find some, or just if you think you find any, you really don't want to communicate to your potential opponents. Hey, look at what you found. Look at which Pokemon you are extremely weak to. So yeah, definitely you don't want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that for sure. Like Vancouver last season was one of those weird tournaments that was like the in between meta. And I remember so I had that like Shadow Steelix Golisopod team that, wasn't that core wasn't really common, or Golisopod hadn't really been used at that time. And I remember using I remember using a fake team. I used a fake team in the cup the day before in Vancouver, and I got like top 8 in the cup. I lost to, I think, Nighttime Clasher, and Nighttime Clasher was running my real team. So the team that I was planning on using, that I had probably used in a practice tournament, got out there a little bit, and like he was running that team. I was running a different team as my fake team, but that was his fake team. He wasn't actually planning on running that team. So it's like people like to keep these teams kind of a secret. And like you said, even for like Houston, I did some scrims the days before, and I was kind of desperate just to get in some reps. So like I did scrim some people that I knew were in the tournament. But I used like a fake team that I wasn't actually planning on using, just to like, get some reps in.
Yeah, yeah. This is what I did incidentally for the UIC, but yeah, we will get to that later. But I was almost sold on Shadow Charger Bug, and
Mm.
I ended up not using it, and I think I kind of regret I didn't, because everyone was running triple water or whatever. And but yes, I desperately tried to put some reps in with Shadow Charger Bug against some friends I knew they wouldn't participate. But yeah, at the end I just changed the team with something else at the very last second at 3 a.m. again. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm restless. But yeah, let's have a look at your run, shall we? So okay, so let's begin with the first 2 or 3 rounds. Um, I guess, I mean, probably Gorgeist had okay, no, maybe not a really good time in round 1, I guess, because yeah, there was someone checked. But how did its first 3 rounds go for you?
Yeah. My first round was like a newer player, so it wasn't like super competitive. If I'm being honest, I remember I think I led like Scizor into Ninetales, and they like stayed in, So it was like it was a pretty straightforward situation. He actually it was his first ever tournament, and he actually didn't show up to the table of his previous round, and he got like an auto loss, but he was there. So I like went with him to the judges, and I'm like, okay, he got an auto loss, but like his opponent wasn't even there. So can we like flip that, and like I'll still play him? Because otherwise I would have got a double buy. And selfishly, like you could say I'm being the nice guy by doing that, but also like I kind of want to get, a match in, right? Like I don't want to go into my second round having not actually played. So it was a little bit of both, but I also felt bad because it was his first tournament and he like didn't really know to report, even if his opponent wasn't there. But first match was pretty straightforward, I would say. Second match, the clay doll was actually a little bit concerning to me. It was like, because it's like, it's got play against Lapras in the UFISC. You know, in the moment, looking at it now, I guess clay doll like isn't that good against me. But in the moment, for some reason, I was like kind of concerned with the clay doll, I remember.
Shadow Ball.
Yeah. Shadow Ball, Rock Tomb, 5 every time for both of them now. So that was a unique pick. And yeah, I don't remember what exactly happened in the series, but I do remember they brought the clay doll, and I just had to maneuver around it best I could. The Gorgeist does look pretty good for me there. Like, because even the Empoleon matchup is, I think you win the 0s and the 1s. Empoleon only wins the 2s. So it's not a bad matchup for Gorgeist. And then match number 3, just a while Mango. So he actually beat me in Monterey earlier in the season. So it was like basically the same exact round, same situation in a Mexico tournament. So I'm like, oh no, here we go again. And I remember I threw game 1 super bad. What did I do? Oh yeah, it was one of those situations where like you think they're gonna catch and you like wait for the catch, but I had my Scizor against the Jelly, and I like anticipated him to catch on like Claude or something, but I like waited for it, and by waiting for it, he got off the Surf instead. So it was one of those situations like if I just threw my move, I win, but I lost. So I was pretty upset, and I'm like, okay, let's just lock in and try to flip these next 2 games, and fortunately I did. And I remember the Scizor, pre-Scizor nerf was just really good for me in this matchup. Like, what's his best Scizor answer? I guess the UFISC. Like, it was pretty good for me in this matchup as long as I managed it well.
Yeah. And okay, so and I guess Morato 98 is this the winner semi of your group at this point? Or the winner finals?
Winners finals. This
because
was to day 2.
Yeah, because you started from round 2. Yeah, so yeah, this actually is the round 5. So yeah, if you always won, yeah, it should have been winner finals. Okay, so first Gallery Moltres.
Yes, and yeah, this was really close. I remember, and it was a really tight knit end game in a couple, and maybe it was game 2. And my Florges having Disarming Voice ended up being the difference here, because it basically came down to like my Florges against the Moltres in the back. And had I not had Disarming Voice, I would have lost for sure, but was able to get enough damage off on the Moltres where like Disarming Voice plus the Fairy Wind's knocked out. So that came in clutch for me against Marato. I remember it was a really crazy end game in like game 2. I forget exactly what happened, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess you gave also some responsibilities to your Stunfisk against Morato, because yeah, it was pretty good. Even I guess Credil in certain scenarios, it is able to maintain the honor
Right.
pretty high. Yeah, in the 2 shields, I think it can win potentially. Right?
Yeah, I think it just straight up wins the 2s. Yeah.
Yeah, if you shield the grass out correctly, I guess. Yeah, so were you really scared of Empoleon, because you don't have really any huge Pokemon to threaten Empoleon with, and Empoleon is always coming because your Florges is pretty pretty menacing for the Moltres, and they probably would like to use the Moltres. So yeah, how did you choose the line against this team of 6?
Yeah, I think against Empoleon teams, I probably never really led the Florges, because I never wanted to be like behind against the Empoleon. So even though I didn't have like an obvious answer to it, everything else I felt like at least had play. So like Guzzlord, I felt fine into Empoleon. You can kind of neutralize it there. Scizor is obviously not ideal, but like you bait Night Slashes, you can you can like play out the twos, make that really uncomfortable for them.
You can stall the timer and bail out again.
Exactly. Lapras, like I talked about earlier, can win the zeros. Stunfisk is probably a positive matchup for Stunfisk, and then Gorg, right, is like win the zeros and the ones. So so even though it is pretty safe, so like from my opponent's perspective, it's really good, it's really safe. And if I was an opponent playing Empoleon, like I would also probably be thinking it's really good against my team. But I would say the one simple thing was I just almost never led the floor, just I don't think, against an Empoleon team, because I didn't want to be behind against Empoleon.
Yeah. And I suppose being softish to it means that you already know also what's the second Pokemon in your opponent's line is going to be. It's probably like the Marowak, because they might think you might feel forced to use the Stunfisk as a pollen answer. So yeah, they probably will try and protect it with either the Grass type or the Marowak, and you can already know that. And maybe Lapras becomes very good all of a sudden. So yeah, you can start and making some assumptions, and maybe some of them will turn out to be correct. But yeah, you win 2-0, and you advance to day 2. At this point, yeah, probably yeah, you face one other big favorite, and yeah, with Azu Chargerbug, Guslord, just the Fortress was very uncommon, I think, at the time, right? And also Corsulo had disappeared from the usage over the past three months or even longer. So how did you approach? Actually, did you scrim with anyone? Or how do you like to prepare for this?
Yeah, so when I make day 2, I typically will not look past like my first matchup of the day. I only look at that and prepare for that. And what was funny about playing Pocket is like we both ended kind of early, so we went out to lunch together and everything, and like knew that we'd probably be playing each other the next day. And I actually didn't know his team fully, because it wasn't like released until like 11 p.m. that night on Dracoviz. But I think he only revealed 4 Pokemon on stream, so I like could kind of I think I kind of predicted he had Guzzlord, and I remember it was just the 6th Pokemon. I wasn't sure what he had, and it ended up being the Chargerbug was the one I didn't know. So I scrimmed, I think, with TZ, like a Mexican player, and Axon the night before, and I came up with a good line, and basically it revolved around just my floor just being like a free swap against his team. Like there's with Fortress on Bug Bite, especially. Corsola isn't really ideal, and like Azu's not really ideal, but with Disarming Voice, it's a little bit helpful in those matchups. So I knew like he had some strong neutral picks against me that could be difficult, but I felt like I could freely swap my Florges where I wasn't like locked into switch advantage, and I just tried to take advantage of that, and that's kind of what ended up happening in the battles, because they were both really close, where I just ended up like winning by a few HP both times.
Yeah, I think the Pocket had used Licky and Guzzlord a lot, even in the previous regional to this. So yeah, maybe. I mean, yeah, he just stuck with what worked, I guess. And then winners round 2. So you keep on winning. You didn't drop a round, although yeah, you happened to drop a couple of games, but yeah, always winning. Then another maybe, I don't know, BBML or just another very common team on the weekend almost. I mean, a lot of players in the top 12 had backbone like this. So at this point, I guess you are already prepared. I mean, it's the same team that Morato had as well. So as long as your game didn't go on stream, I think your strats could have been valid and reapplicable against Paul Garcia as well. What did you do?
I remember game one, I lost because I made the wrong read. I think it was something like I think it was something like I lead Gorgeist into Marowak. So a great lead. He swaps in Empoleon, and instead of like going my Stunfisk and just kind of hard countering him, I went like Guzzlord instead. And then because I was predicting it must be the Moltres in the
And
back.
Moltres.
Yeah. So I went Guzzlord instead. And then that middle matchup kind of got neutralized or whatever. But then it ended up being a Credilli against my Gorgeist and my Stunfisk. And he also had the Marowak. So like the Stunfisk just had nowhere to go. And Gorgeist couldn't do enough to win. So it was I remember I lost game one by just making the wrong read, coming with the wrong Pokemon. And I forget exactly how I adjusted in the other two games, but I felt like maybe putting myself in a position with like a more neutral lead Pokemon where I didn't have to like resort to calling something like that. Maybe it's what I did, or maybe I dropped the Stunfisk. I don't really, I don't really remember. But yeah, that's the funny thing is we're calling these like I'm someone that oftentimes remembers the games that I lose like pretty vividly, and the games that I win kind of blend together more. Um, but yeah, I remember losing game one almost exactly how it happened, and the next two games I'm not exactly sure, but a common theme I'm seeing with a lot of these teams, except for like a couple of those Ninetales teams, is the Guzzlord. And Pocket was running Bug Bite, so he had a check to Guzzlord. But like a lot of these teams, Guzzlord was very safe. So that was kind of like a bread and butter for me was the Guzzlord.
Yeah, it is possible maybe that I guess Paul Garcia, Guzzlord just did a lot of heavy lifting because basically you could have safe swapped it and even worst case scenario Zumaro you can stall the timer, throw a couple of large bombs, try maybe catch the third charge move on something else, just keep Guzzlord around, super healthy, still in the green health, with a lot of energy. So yeah, you definitely had some play even in the worst case scenario, and Azumarill wasn't really thrilling to use. I mean, yeah, against a grass type, and okay, your Lapras did have Skullback, but yeah, you did have a Caesar, and yeah, maybe Azumarill could have been used, but yeah, not even the best Pokemon to use against your team. And then, so you advance to the winter finals, and you face Shadow Taria, Purified Credilli, but yeah, just for flex because no return on this Credilli. And okay, so another a different Mazlapper, so double ground, but yeah, Gastrodon instead of Marowak, which I guess probably even better, I suppose, because now your Caesar can even one shot the Gastrodon. Um, but so what are your thoughts as you see this team? What's the first thing that you think about in terms of what's my MVP gonna be?
uh well, I could take you for like my first and second thoughts is once again the Guzzlord being safe. That's kind of what I look for is like what Pokemon is safest. And I thought the Guzzlord. And then my second thought was like the Gourgeist is very scary for him because if you look at his latter three Pokemon, like none of them want to see the Gourgeist, and it really just kind of limits him, right? It kind of forces his hand where I feel like he can't realistically run like Gastrodon lead with Stunfisk in the back or like Caesar lead with one of the grounds in the back. So I knew Gourgeist had to try to gang up on to some extent where like Furret probably had to come every game. Altaria was probably coming most games. And because of that, I really liked my Scizor because, right, he can't realistically bring both ground types, which are like his best Scizor answers. So like because of the pressure of Gourgeist, I liked the Scizor a lot.
Yeah. Also, yeah, you could have swap either Caesar or Gastelot. Basically, always get some sort of advantage in any case, and this could have left room for good guys, maybe to to sweep when shields were down with Shadow Ball landing on Altaria. But yeah, we can just have a look at what you actually did. Yeah, I can speed the video a little bit up, but yeah, I let you do the talking for these ones.
Yeah, I remember we had like a little backstage area, and he was saying like how he was feeling nervous. Um, and Spartan was coming off of a second place in his like previous regional. So he was already back in a position of like top 3. I knew how good he's been playing. So I was nervous myself. But I thought I had a pretty solid matchup here in game 1, just leading Guz, see the Scizor, and oh yeah. So here, like, I think staying in and allowing this farm down was a little bit of a mistake. I think just aggressively swapping the Scizor would have been better, because giving him this head start, it's not like I do really that much damage. And I didn't really want to shield, because I must have been afraid of like something sweeping me if I shielded there. Maybe like a Stunfisk, I don't know. But yeah. Oh, actually, maybe Furret. Maybe I was afraid like Furret up a shield would sweep me if I shielded that Rock Tomb. But now he catches the Ice Beam. So this is actually a phenomenal play, that Ice Beam catch. And this is going to allow his Altaria to outpace me before I get to 2 moves on Lapras. And so not only in this game 1 did I feel like I just kind of let him off the hook by not aggressively swapping, but also I didn't undercharge that Ice Beam. So like I had 2 different things I could have done there with the aggressive swap, or if I undercharged the Ice Beam on Credilli, I could have then like farmed down with Lapras, switch Scizor maybe, farm down with Scizor. Like, so I had multiple win conditions there. And I think you saw the nerves a little bit in this series, like, because I believe my previous tournament, I had Toronto before this, but before that was Vegas, where I was in a similar situation, right? Where it was like top 2, and you get close, you start to taste it a little bit. You're like, you don't want to let it slip. So definitely a few things I could have done differently there in game 1. Game 2, neutral lead for into Scizor. And this is a matchup I saw a lot in practice tournaments. And I found people usually did not like to shield their Furret. I shield Swift to preserve some health. And people usually did not like to shield their Fur because they figure you're going to go for double Night Slash. In comes Gastro, and I did bring the Gourgeist this game. So because I have the Gourgeist, I'm just going to make sure I get my shield back, farm him down, and line things up. And, as long as I have a Gourgeist on Gastrodon, and I know Guzzlord is like pretty safe against everything else, should be in a good spot here. He tries to catch. I like to throw the Shadow Ball here. Like, you could argue whether this is really necessary or not. Maybe switching better would be more efficient, but I guarantee like a shield or a lot of damage. And then here, he gets off the Sky Attack. I'm at double Brutal Swing, and I figure if I fire immediately, he can't quite get there. So I just make sure to get rid of this Altaria. And now the Gastro can't really take out both Pokemon. I think Gorg might be like one off of a Seed Bomb. And then I like unnecessarily swap when I probably could have just Dragon Tailed down. But I swap. He gets up a Water Pulse. It doesn't KO.
Just to make sure you sneak Incinerate and just get the get over with it, because just in case they maybe manage to, I don't know, double up or something.
Yeah.
It could have been your lose condition there. So nice adjustment. He was definitely expecting your core guys to come in the lead after maybe trying to RPS his Caesar, but yeah, you were keeping the pumpkin in the back. Game 3.
Game 3, Scizor into Gastro. Probably his best answer for Scizor. And it's not like that's the worst situation for me, but I still felt like, I've got 2 better answers. So I'm just going to pivot out because I know Guzzlord is so safe. And Guzzlord gets a shield for me here, which is huge, because now I have no intention to ever shield this Guzzlord. I don't even need switch, right? Like, because I know my Scizor is pretty safe. My Floridas only wants to avoid Scizor. And I was thinking, right, if it's a Gastrodon lead, it's probably not going to be Scizor in back, because that'd be too weak
Yeah.
to Gorgeist. So I figure at this point, it's probably not Scizor in back. If it is, GG's. But I felt pretty comfortable just letting this go, I think, and putting this all on my floor just to sweep, predicting that it wasn't Scizor. I do make a mistake there, thinking I might get to the move. So that was kind of bad, because if you watch it like in hindsight, like it's pretty clear that the next Mud Slap is going to KO,
Yeah.
and I stayed
Yeah.
it anyway. So once again,
I
maybe
don't
this
think
like
that you made a good reasoning. Maybe you were also trying to put this Gastrodon into
yeah,
Disarming Voice range.
right. I did have boosted bullet punches from the Trailblaze that I threw to get the shield. So that actually, yeah, maybe that is what I was thinking at the time, was like stay in to get those bullet punches and put it into clear like Disarming Voice range. And then he baits me with Body Slam. At this point, I knew this was only a Body Slam, and I was kind of confident it was Altaria in back. And this is where, once again, Disarming Voice just going to come in handy. At this point, I think I could have played this like a variety of ways, but I decided to just shield the Sky Attack, farm down. And this is really unnecessary, but I Chilling Water just to like throw 2 moves, since I have 2 moves, when I definitely would have just knocked out with a Disarming Voice first, but I was like, I've got 2 moves, I'll throw them. So
okay, yeah, so 2-1 now.
yeah,
And
2-1.
At this point, what are you thinking now? Because you have used Guzzler both in the lead and as a safe swap, but yeah, he realized how hard it is for him to respond to a Guzzler with energy. So what do you think he will do now?
Yeah, maybe I'm predicting he'll like maybe be more geared towards a Guzzlord swap. So maybe I let it in this game, and it looks like I do.
Okay, so yeah, the game starts in medias res. So yeah, Guzzlord in the lead.
I decided to bring the Lapras this time, which is interesting. And if you look at the back line, it looks like Lapras doesn't really have a great spot to go. And that was the thing with Lapras. Like, it's so strong neutrally. There were a lot of games where if you watch him back, like my Lapras didn't really have a great spot to go, but just because it was so strong neutrally, it still managed to put in work. And Spartan plays this very clever. He does 1 and then transfers the Incinerate. So he's 1 off of double Night Slash for later. I've got my Gorgeist in for a moment. I throw a Seed Bomb to put some pressure on him first, maybe get a shield. And now I'm thinking, okay, maybe I have some play here. I take the first Trailblaze, go for a move here, and he's going to use his next shield. And the issue that we're going to see is all that energy that he stored on the Scizor. So he actually swaps in aggressively with the desync and the switch timers. I swap, but he gets off another Night Slash here because of his overfarm. And the Furret's going to farm down before I can get to 2 moves. So I think what game 4 there showed me is like, maybe I just need to bench the Lapras. Maybe this just isn't the best matchup for it. Because if you look at Spartan's team, it's like, what is my Lapras really trying to find? Even like the Altaria, right? The Shadow we saw is the Shadow Altaria makes it more uncomfortable for Lapras because you're doing more damage, and like 1 Ice Beam is going to 1-shot anyway if it's a regular Altaria. So I think I kind of realized, like, what is Lapras really doing for me in this matchup? And I probably decided to drop it for game 5.
Yeah. Also, maybe going down 1 shield early in the lead might have been detrimental for the outcome of your game, but probably you would have won. Yeah, probably you would have won regardless, because yeah, Lapras had almost nowhere to go. And yeah, Caesar and Ferret and are probably coming every game now. So let's see.
Game 5.
This is good.
Decisive game 5, yeah. And so the fact that he's staying in here immediately gives me a lot of confidence that like this is going to be pretty good for me, because I can overfarm by a lot. I've got double Night Slash, so he lets it go. And even though I sense it's probably Credilli in the back, I just didn't really want to.
Yeah, you can't really switch out.
Yeah, I didn't want to switch out because I can't afford to get my Florges in a situation where it's on the Scizor. So I just get both of his shields, come in with Guzzlord to absorb this energy, and then I throw my Brutal Swing here. And then here, if you want to pause for a quick sec, is like I think this was pretty high level. So he catches the Brutal Swing, a nice play. And I do one Dragon Tail here and swap, because even though I'm not taking advantage of like a 0-turn swap, I understand that I'm going to be on sync as he's like at 2 acids. So this is going to give me 1 extra Dragon Tail worth of like energy, while I can still CMP tie him and get my Chilling Water debuff off first against his Cradilli.
Yeah, because now, he's now energy dry because he switched at the reset point, right? So yeah, he's dry. Yeah, you can do 1 Dragon Tail. Yeah, that's definitely, this is definitely what happens. And now you can make sure you survive this Rock Tomb even more with more health, which is
exactly
great, I guess. Yeah.
And then it allows me to keep my shield, and I'm able to get off the disarming like just before he's able to swap out and potentially catch. He does farm me down, and then he's got a lot of energy. And at first I thought about no shielding, because I was like, what if he boosts? But then I thought, like, if he boosts, he boosts. I'm just going to take that risk. And I go for the Brutal Swing, because I'd rather him boost and win that way than like let in a Trailblaze and lose that way. So
yeah. If they'll in a Trailblaze, that's that. I think that's a good 50-50 call that you will have found yourself having to make a lot of time in the tournaments. I wonder, what if you actually didn't, if you try and do double disarming instead of one Chilling Water and one disarming with Forges, because you gave more energy to Caesar by debuffing the Cradilli there.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. Like I probably still reach that double disarming anyway, right? Even without the Chilling Water. But maybe it could have opened up a situation where, like, if you went for the Grass Knot and I went double disarming, maybe then I don't get to 2 moves. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay. So we are skipping all the other games for the sake of the time. I'm sorry, Ashtanash, but yeah. Okay, so we are back here. This time, okay. I'm curious to know now, after 5 games, so playing the best of 5 at full extent, what have you understood of how Spartan wants to play, and how do you want to approach this?
Yeah, so I recognized like just how much pressure my Gorgeist put on him. And I remember watching Ashtanash for Spartan in losers finals, and I've been in this situation before where you're kind of awaiting like who you're going to play. And for example, in Vegas, I had, which wasn't that long before this, I had a terrible matchup against Dune and like a really good matchup against Rockhaven, and Dune ended up being Rockhaven. So I'm like, that's tough. And this was kind of the opposite situation where I felt pretty strong about my matchup against Spartan, and the Ashtanash matchup I thought was a little bit more even. So I was kind of hoping to play Spartan again. And what I specifically remember was in the first series, I won every game that I led Scizor. All 3 of my wins, I led Scizor, and my losses, I didn't. So I decided going into this series, I was just going to play it really simple and lead Scizor every time until he proved he could beat a Scizor lead, because the Scizor was just so safe. And even if it was met by a ground type, like I could then pivot Guzzlord and be ahead. So I essentially just stuck. That was my mindset coming in. I had a strong matchup, and I was just going to play it with what I knew was a strong, simple core of Scizor Guzzlord, and make him prove to me he could beat it.
Yeah, stick to what works, focus on what counts. Okay, ground type in the lead, and Guzzlord safe swap. Yeah.
Guzzlord safe swap. We're going to try and take back switch if we can, and he stays in, which allows me to take advantage of that, like 1-turn swap in, right? Get my move off first. And he continues to stay in, which surprises me. I get off another brutal swing. We know it's not on earth power, right? So no reason to shield the first. Then he comes in Altera. I get pretty lucky here. I get DRE.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I get pretty fortunate because this DRE is going to allow me to farm all the way down before he gets the 2 moves. So that's pretty lucky for me, if we're being honest. He comes in with Furret. I go for Trailblaze, which I don't know if this was really the right play necessarily. But I figured I'd be in here for a while. So I wanted to like ramp up my bullet punch damage. But going for that Trailblaze first results in me getting farmed down before a 3rd Night Slash. But as you aforementioned, Gourgeist is good here when it's a loaded Furret that's low. So I take the first, of course, since he's probably going to Trailblaze. He baits me with a Swift, transfers the move, but I double up on Seed Bomb here. So no reason to like go for a farm down. Just throw both Seed Bombs here, and we're going to take game 1. Definitely lucky with the DRE against the Altaria, but I don't know. It's part of the game sometimes.
I suppose you could have committed to a second Trailblaze again with Caesar just to do as much damage as possible, and then just go with Incinerate. But in the heat of the moment, you don't exactly know whether you're gonna reach 3 charge moves, or maybe you just try and go for it, and
right,
you are in a good spot regardless. So yeah, why not try it at that point?
Game 2, Scizor lead. I don't remember if I don't think it had been revealed yet who won Scizor charge attack priority. But I decided to overfarm here. And I think my goal, was to just try to give myself some sort of advantage. And he doesn't actually throw there. So maybe he's not confident he'll win charge attack priority. And he does farm me down. But this is where Guzzlord is nice because I can absorb the energy on it. And I have a shield advantage for the Florges in the back. He swaps in Credilli, which actually kind of does me a favor because I now know that whatever's in the back, my Florges should be good against since he's revealed its 2 biggest threats. Yeah. So I go for this brutal swing and I throw this one immediately again.
Yeah, so you can CMP here.
Yeah, exactly. So there was a few times that this sort of same sequence happened where I forewent good timing with Guzzlord to set up a situation where my Florges wouldn't get outpaced. I throw Chilling Water first. And the main reason is just to like make it more comfortable where I can take this Swift where I'm not as pressured. And then just save my shield. He kind of has to go for a catch there. And then we throw the Disarming Voice, which does more damage. Take game 2.
Yeah. Also, the other thing with Chilling Water, just to pressuring him to swap, basically, and trying to reset the debuff with the Hail Mary strat. But yeah, in a way that would give you just an extra favor win. So maybe he was just hoping maybe to deal 1 bullet punch worth of damage during the swap. But yeah, it's a weird thing because he would have just wait 1 turn and then swap potentially.
And then potentially the final game, sticking with that Scizor lead. Like I said, I was undefeated with it in this matchup, so I was just going to stick with it until otherwise. And
he shields now.
Yeah, he shields now. He plays it differently. He swaps in Stunfisk, and I've got the Gourgeist to counter it. I do build up to a move, right? Like whether I swap immediately or
just
not,
in case. Yeah.
I just felt like it was kind of a safe play to bank a move for later. It does desync the switch timer a little bit, as we'll see. He then swaps into Furret, and I think I could have like swapped out here if I remember. Yeah, I probably could have swapped out into Guzz, which would have been better for me. But I think I just didn't want to like lock myself in a situation. I wanted to keep my switch timer up. And then in comes Scizor. I throw after 4 there because I actually waited a turn to see what was going to come in. And then, this was my favorite play, actually. I swapped when I already had the move, and I did 1 to then lure him into a CMP tie. And then he does farm me down with Stunfisk, but my Guzzlord is still pretty healthy. So I know I can simply take one, shield one, farm down, and then have a move ready for the Scizor, which doesn't have a move. And just kind of an example of like, learning through the first matchup. I made some mistakes and just kind of identifying what was a strong line for me. And I've been on both sides of the coin. I've been on, I've been in some grand finals where Kanto Marowak was deadly against my team and it was hard to overcome. And this is a situation I've been in the grand finals where I felt like I had a positive matchup and was just able to capitalize on it.
Yeah, I think you missed a great occasion there, though. You should have probably sludged the seal.
Yeah, you're right.
And this is what Marto has been saying for decades, right? With Swampert, he always would sludge wave the Bastion every time.
I did even think about that in the moment, but I just I just didn't want to take the risk that somehow it didn't KO when like it pretty obviously would have KO'd. But yeah, I did actually think about it.
Okay, so very very convincing win. So just having this little prep in winter finals earlier, when you see what works and what doesn't, and then sticking with what does for where it counts in the grand finals, very cleanly and nicely executed there. And so, what would you say about your MVP? Because of course it's probably Guzzlord for the grand finals, right? But what about the rest of the tournament? Because all the rest of the games and matches, you had to win them before reaching the final stage. So what's your response?
I think it was the MVP was between Guzzlord and Scizor. And then I would say Gourgeist and Floridas also had their moments where like they might have been MVPs of a particular matchup. And ironically, the two most like meta Pokemon that maybe we're used to seeing, the Lapras and the Stunfisk, were probably the two Pokemon I used the least. But they just provided like some nice bulk, I guess, to pair with the other Pokemon if I needed that bulk. But yeah, I think it had to be the Scizor Guzzlord core as well as Florges and Gourgeist sometimes like having their moments of shine, because Florges is a lot of fun to use, right? With the ability to like debuff something and then like lock it into another matchup. So it can be valuable. And then just the typing of Gourgeist. Oftentimes, even if I didn't bring it, it provided some really nice bench pressure against a lot of these teams.
Yeah. So that, of course, now with a lot of really toughs around, was harder to use Guzzlord. But on the other hand, Fortress is not rocking Bug Bite anymore. So yeah, you lose some, you gain some. But I don't think I ever saw you using Gourgeist on stream this weekend in Houston. Did you ever use it in off stream?
Honestly, I think I brought it one time and I lost that game because it got lined up with a jelly, and even though you're a grass type, I'd still say that's a good matchup for jelly.
Yeah, the way the fast moves hit differently, and it just makes a difference in the end. Okay, so I guess after so thanks for commentating with me your Merida run. So very well deserved. You played very solidly all along.
Also, one nugget I'll add in there is
yes,
I was happy to get a win with the Lapras, because my Lapras I actually used my my golden bottle cap on.
Oh, okay.
So I was happy it was put to good use, because I worked so hard to bottle cap that Lapras before Worlds, and then I went 2-2 at Worlds. So I was happy that that the Lapras got got a gold medal.
Even though, yeah, it was a good good spectator for most of the games.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
But yeah, still very very nice and deserved spotlight for the poor Lapras as well. He got, or he or she got got their revenge. Um, but yeah, let's spend a couple of more words about all the other tournaments that you played between Merida and today. So EUIC. So you traveled across the ocean. Do you feel, this is a random question, do you feel that ICs are now basically just as tough as playing Worlds? Because everyone that you face at Worlds, you still face them in these occasions.
I'd still have to say Worlds is more difficult just because there's the qualification aspect as well. There's also no seeding. So someone like me does benefit from the seeding where I might have at least a couple rounds of players that are unseeded. And sometimes that means they're, a newer player. Sometimes that means I'm playing LNDS Xiao Victor in LAIC in like winners round 2, who just hasn't competed before. So it's not like the seeding always is the huge difference maker, but oftentimes it is. So Worlds is still unseeded because it's like, how do they seed people from, like APAC when there's not a point system? So I would say that's probably the biggest reason I'd say Worlds is more difficult, but just the sheer volume of players. I mean, it makes it pretty difficult too for ICs.
Yeah. So yeah, we have here the infographics. So you were 1 position shy of the top 4, but still very respectable placement. Yes, top 8, yes, or top 6, right? Yeah. And I can't find your bracket right now, but do you remember which group were you playing in?
It's a good question. It was like further down. I remember I was in the 9th group. So E, F, G, H, I maybe.
Not okay, maybe. Yes. Okay. So going very quickly through your bracket here, and if you happen to remember, okay, so this is a bye, but if you happen to remember, more or less, yeah, something to just worth to be talked about as far as concerns day 1 here.
Bye. First opponent was, I think, like a TCG person who had like a Porygon and a Shelgon pre-buff, I think. So that was
he knew though.
he knew it was coming. Yeah. So that was pretty like unlosable, I would say. And then play against JK, who I had heard the name before, was a solid
he's a
player.
friend of mine. Yeah, he's a friend of mine.
And I remember we had a pretty competitive set. And then I go on to play Maxi, who at this time, right, him and I were both coming off a win in the same weekend. So Maxi's a friend of mine, and he had considering like how condensed the meta was, he had a little bit of a spicier team. Remember, he had like a Shadow Dragonair, I believe. And we had a very close game 1. I remember it just came down to a few HP. And then game 2, I think my alignment was pretty good, where it was just kind of hard for him to overcome. So was able to get the win against Maxi, and that set up against Chris in the group final.
Do you remember what happened in this game on this match?
I think it was relatively neutral. I think like the game I lost, I definitely had opportunities to win, and he just made some nice plays. And the final game, it was a really awkward end game where like I had a debuffed something and I like wanted to clear the debuff, but it was also one of those situations like if I clear the debuff, am I giving him farm that's going to cost me? And I think it came down to like rollouts versus Dragon Tails at the end, and I had a very low Licky against a very low Milotic, and the rollouts just barely knocked it out before his Dragon Tails knocked me out.
Yeah, we hadn't talked about the team, but I think your team was pretty well-rounded and, of course, also pretty standard. But because it was really hard to deviate from what it had proven to work in practice, I think, yeah, if EUIC had started 1 week after the meta announcement, we would have had a totally different meta. But over the weeks, more and more players realized that Shadow Backbite was almost impossible to stop, right?
Yeah.
And and double rollout came out just to try and curb the Shadow Beetle. And Shadow Drapion was also very good because it was able to just cut the Licky Licky's health in half in in a little more than 2 seconds. Sorry, in 5 seconds. And then Kingdra was very solid, and although, yeah, I gotta say, pretty inconsistent if you misused it, but yeah, it had some good value. And Spiritomb was, I don't know, did you end up liking it, Spiritomb? Because in this meta, I feel it was more of a, I wouldn't say hit or miss, but even against rollout users, it wasn't that solid. Against Beedrill, it wasn't solid. It was good though for its carryover potential once you manage to force switch and get rid of one of the 3 Pokemon from your opponent, so that hoping that debuff would stick for a little bit longer. But yeah, overall, what are your thoughts? Was that really any Pokemon that overall kind of let you down, or maybe you were hoping they would do something better?
Yeah, I think I don't know if I would have changed anything. I think I liked the team a lot. A lot of people when I scrimmed were, and this is a situation I was less shy about sharing my team in scrims because like it's not like there's much variance, right, in a lot of the teams. But I think a lot of people were skeptical about double normal. They thought it was like, what's the point of having 2 when they do the same thing? But I think like Dunsparce, for example, was a lot better against Spiritomb versus I had Earthquake on Licky, so it made that matchup pretty bad. Like if they shield an Earthquake, they could really take full advantage of the Spiritomb in that situation. I personally did like the Spiritomb. I would even go as far to say it might have been my MVP. And like you said, at first I did not like it because I found it hard to like capitalize on certain matchups like Dunsparce, but it was almost like throughout the tournament I like learned how to use it better. And a few games in such like a neutral meta, when I figured out like if you lead Spiritomb in a Dunsparce, right, you can do like 7 in catch, and you have like almost a Rock Tomb loaded for later. And like that alone can be like hard for the opponent to overcome because you get like decent Sucker Punch damage. And if they don't throw after 5, it's like, like they almost have to throw, right? Otherwise, they're potentially letting a Rock Tomb go through. So it was kind of like figuring out how to use it best. And the fact that it just can like kind of beat Drapion in certain situations is pretty crazy. And like you said, exactly with the Kingdra, man, it was like it was so bait dependent, right? And I was literally, there was games like I played Spartan again in this tournament, and then I won because I made the right 50-50 call with Kingdra. And then in both of my losses against Colin and Potsoman, it was like they called the bait with Kingdra. So it's like it did make it kind of coin flippy, but yeah, it was. I think what I liked about having Kingdra was, it having that water resist for that double water resist for like situations against Drapion and Milotic, where you could like go for those Aqua Tail catches were pretty nice. But other than that, like you said, it was a very bait dependent mon.
I guess one good thing about having both Kingdra and Beedrill is that while Beedrill is a monster when both shields are in play, if your opponent decides to get all shields down, then it's time for Kingdra to shine. And so I guess, and maybe you could always maybe pairing Kingdra with Beedrill, you can always get some value from spamming Swift with Kingdra anyway, because if they don't shield Swift, you can just bite everything down. So I think there are some synergies that you maybe learned how to exploit as the tournament progressed, and maybe you weren't fully aware of during the scrims, because it can happen. But yeah, I feel it was really hard to devise something different from what you brought. It's because, okay, so it was still less condensed than the LAFC one, right? Everyone, I think, you can agree with that. But it felt like gameplay-wise, it was actually less diverse than LIC. I think the LIC had more diversity in terms of what people could do, but maybe even because maybe there were more glassy Pokemon in LIC with Gyarados and Togekiss. Oh wait, but you didn't have Shadows allowed, so I don't know. I felt here with rollout users and or Dragon Tail users, the gameplay felt slow to watch, and sometimes, like, I think 90% of the games were staying in the lead, doing some energy and trying to catch, trying to desync, and then try and make combo plays. I think it kind of, at the end, maybe towards the day 2, it was more obvious to the expert player's eyes, but yeah, it kind of boiled down to playing like this and trying and anticipate when your opponent will try and do something like this and try and do it yourself. So I probably, maybe I didn't particularly love the way you had to play this meta to win in the deepest stages. But it was really cool to have something like this, and I still biting my elbows for not having a good Shadow Beedrill, and I had to stick with the Shadow Venomoth, which, yeah, it was just a pale imitation, and it was more of a liability most of the time. So I just used it maybe twice, and I lost all the 2 games I brought it. But yeah, and looking at these teams, I think, yeah, that Shadow Charger Bug would have had a lot of value even against the rollout users if you manage to. I mean, even if you save swap Shadow Charger Bug, yeah, the rollout users would have a tough time trying to play against it, because 2 Exceeders from the Shadow Charger Bug basically KO'd the Licky Licky, plus double switch, of course. But yeah, I ended up not having the guts to use it, although I tested it a lot the night before, and then I chose something else. But yeah, so we briefly spoke about day 1, but yeah, now it's time to have a look at day 2. So okay, so Spartan. So that's basically the chance for Spartan to get a revenge after Merida. I remember watching these games on stream, but I don't remember exactly how they went. So please.
Yeah, I remember we had the mirror team, except he had a Zweilous instead of Drapion. And that Zweilous alone was pretty scary for me in scrims. I was losing a lot that night. I was getting kind of tilted. I was like, I can't figure out how to handle this thing. But ironically, in the match itself, he never brought the Zweilous. So I felt like it made my life a little bit easier, just because the Zweilous looked pretty good on paper against me if it avoided the Beedrill. So Yeah, I think I won game 1 pretty convincingly, and then game 2 was closer and essentially came down to a 50-50 with Kingdra, where I just went for the outrage when he still had a shield and he like tried to call it. So yeah, it was like a confident game 1 and then a 50-50 to win game 2.
Then you got another 2-0 against an average player here. I don't remember who he is, but yeah. I do
And
remember though that these games were I wasn't really happy about the matchup. And where are you?
It was like the Samurott was a concern, but I figured if I brought like my better answers to it, it was fine because even like licky ahead can beat it. And it's like if I brought my better Samurott answers, it's not like though that line is necessarily like, super weak to anything else, like just 'cause it's such a safe meta. So like the Samurott at first was kind of concerning, but I thought like I was able to deal with it because as we know, like B, right, even against the rollout users, like you move around, it's so oppressive.
Yeah. Do you think the shadow Pokemon should have been excluded for the meta?
It's maybe. I mean, I think I think it was one of those metas where like there was only so many bulky Pokemon, but like if you excluded the shadows, maybe you run the risk of like too bulky of a meta where the games are even longer. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I kind of understand now why player like Spider-Man or Hikami, Mountain Clasher, instead of a second rollout user, they decided to put a Seeking, so one rollout and one Seeking, so that I'm still keeping 2 Pokemon that can deal super effective damage to Shadow Beedrill, but in a slightly different way. They don't overlap at all. You can use them together without the risk of being core broken by an anti-rollout user, right? So I feel maybe that was the way to counter the Shadow Beedrill. Yeah, but I wasn't really happy about your team because I had already appeared in stream twice, and everyone saw that I like to lead Samurai, and yeah, so I tried once more. It didn't work. I tried it again with Beelzebub. It didn't work out. So yeah, I felt wherever I try and do the opposite of what I've shown on stream, I get caught red-handed. And when I try and stick to what I already did, expecting my opponent to expect I change, I get caught regardless. So yeah,
Right,
lots of mind games that I didn't happen to guess right. But yeah, you beat me 2-0. Nothing to complain about. I mean, it can happen to lose against Rise, right? And then you face Colin. And how did this game go?
So I won game 1, and I think it was pretty convincing. Like it was kind of one of those games where I maybe had an early advantage and just never really gave it up. Game 2, I remember, I think I led Kingdra maybe into a Dunsparce, and he swapped Spiritomb into my Kingdra, and I stayed in, and I went up to Outrage, and I baited the Swift, and he called the Swift. And had I gone for the Outrage, Mr. C. Leonardo, I am then I just win, and I'm going to day 3, and the match is basically over. But he called the Swift with all shields in play, and that just totally flipped the game on its head, and he was able to win game 2 pretty convincingly after that. And then game 3, it was the Drapion Mir. I think we might have even had the full Mir team. Yeah, I think we had the full Mir team.
You do.
And I wasn't confident that my Drapion would win CMP, so I overfarmed. I shielded one Aquatail after he threw double, and he swaps into Dunsparce. And in hindsight, I think I just win if I save my energy on Drapion and go into my own Dunsparce. But instead, I threw both of my crunches, um, and it left the Dunsparce very low. But then I no longer had any like energy on my Drapion to use for later. So I then swap in my own Dunsparce, where he basically had to like sacrifice his Dunsparce, but he soaked all the energy that I had on the Drapion, where it would have been less efficient to use it. And then he came in with Spiritomb, and he got ahead with Spiritomb, and it eventually came down to a charge attack priority with his Spiritomb against my Spiritomb. And I thought there was a decent chance my Spiritomb would win because it's got some attack to it. But Colin knew better than me, because as he's swiping the bubbles and winning the game with the chart attack priority, he goes, "Lucky Spiritomb, man. Lucky Spiritomb." And so he knew he was more likely going to win that than not. But that was tough because, yeah, had I played that mid game differently, I think I just win, because I don't know if I just swap Dunsparce into Dunsparce and neutralize that, like he can't overcome my Drapion with like 9 poison stings in the end. I think it's just too much for him. So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel, especially in metas like this, where you have almost mirror matchups every time. Just if you play this game 100 times, it's gonna be 49 to 51, and so just compressing this into a best of 3 or best of 5, you can have a lot of stochastic oscillations, and you can win 3-0, 2-1, 2-0, whatever. But yeah, at the end is that probably every matchup was so flippable and playable around with the right game plan that, yeah, really minuscule tiny decision taken in a fraction of a nanosecond could have just swinged the game on the other side. Every time I felt I was never really in control of anything. I just had to use my full brain power every time, and still there will always be a chance that I could just lose it all because yes. So did you feel that way across the tournament?
I felt like at times, in when it's such a neutral meta, like at times it's hard to find a way to like create an advantage, So it's like, because if you're playing very similar teams and you run mirror teams most of the time, it's like finding those, like you said, those little slivers or nanoseconds to like take advantage, or the times when it's like, do they throw on good timing? Do they CMP? Do they over farm here? Like lots of those predictions kind of became a factor. But yeah, I think both of us, right, like have a background, in Sylph, and that's kind of like what got us going. So it is cool, and it is fun for me now that they've like incorporated that into the ICs, because I was super stoked when I found out I was going to be casting LAIC, but I was also like, oh, it's the first ever limited meta. Like I didn't know if it was just going to be a one-time like test. So I was excited as well to participate in one.
Yeah, definitely. And to be fair, I wasn't really expecting to go necessarily deep. I was hoping I would do a decent run, of course, as everyone would necessarily hope. But yeah, coming from Sylph doesn't really matter nowadays. Like where everyone now is so good, and lots of players have been committing to this game for so long. and it is almost a job for many of them because they earn real money.
Yeah.
So in many cases, yeah, maybe it would have helped if they introduced something like this 3-4 years ago, potentially, yes. But yeah, now I think almost everyone now is as good as the best Civ players
Right.
were back in the old days, I guess. So yeah, what do you think?
I think that's a good point. Like I think Nighttime Clasher, right, has proved that because he didn't start PvP until like 2022. And I think Sylph was probably gone by that point, right? And I'm not sure exactly. I forget. It's been a while now, uh yeah, like he won LAIC and got fifth here in EUIC, and he never really had that like grassroots limited meta experience. He was always just open great leagues. So I think he's kind of been the proving point that like, that grassroots limited metas experience. Which, because I was on record saying it for like LAIC, I was like, someone from like the OG Sylph days, I bet is gonna like win this tournament. But no, it wasn't. It wasn't the case.
Right, Mato got close, but
Right? Yeah.
yeah. Also, he was one of the very early players, like the first season. But I think he already stopped playing Sylph after the second season or third season. So yeah, he left pretty early. But yeah, I mean, especially when you give players to prepare for so long for this format. At this point, yeah, any very tiny advantage that a Sylph player could have just fades away. Maybe the Sylph player would have been great at spotting early on what would work. But yeah, if you give 2 months to everyone to prepare at the end, yeah, all the differences are just gonna be balanced out. Ironically, after the first week, I had potentially identified the Shadow Venom mod as a huge core breaker, but I wasn't thinking about Shadow Beetle at the time because I would have never given, I would have never bet a single dime on Felsinger Beetle, right?
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I was betting on Shadow Backbite as a whole strat, and then for a while, it wasn't good anymore because yeah, the rollout users were soaring, and the pack users also were around, and too much bulk. So I ended up benching the idea, and then everyone just seemed to love Shadow Beedrill all of a sudden, and I didn't have a good one, and yeah, I felt I have some regrets there. But yeah, great example. I think this is a very successful experiment. I think the meta was definitely wider than the LAIC. I really hope we're gonna see for Worlds as well a limited meta, and I really do hope they will introduce limited metas for common standard regionals as well. Maybe some of them can be plain OGL where everything is allowed. Some of them might be just remix OGL where you ban the top 20 or the top 12 usage from the previous one. I don't know, something like this. But I would like to see something similar happen because it will be like playing a limited meta, but you would keep things fresh and force players to find new code breakers that you would have never thought about. What do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah. I personally would love a limited meta for Worlds. I don't know if that will happen. I think it's safe to just assume that they'll do it for NAIC. And the interesting thing with that is it'll be right after an update. And granted, I know usually it's not like a very big update right before NAIC, but that will potentially be a lot of fun if like there is some notable updates where it's harder to condense the meta so much, right, like prior to the tournament, because like you said, also with Battle Frontier usually doing these metas as like part of their competition, it also creates like the opportunity to for people to practice these and see what everyone is running in their respective like Battle Frontier teams. So um, that has, I think, also been a reason why these become so condensed and limited.
Yeah, yeah, true. Not only 2 months to practice, but also multiple formats, multiple occasions to practice same format. Like, yeah, Inadequate says server, but also, yeah, Battle Frontier, or even random scrims. Yeah, when you keep this format up for so long, lots of players will converge on a few strategies. Yeah. Any other highlights you want to talk about against your Pataman matches in losers?
Um, yeah, I guess I'll just say after I lost to Colin, I literally had like 5 hours to kill for while the losers bracket played out. So I literally went back to my hotel and like chilled for a bit and came back. And I think in hindsight, if I ever find myself in a similar situation to that, I think I'd rather like, stay active, like walking around, maybe even like try to find a gym or something to like wake myself. Cause I think, just kind of going and chilling for a while and then coming back, I didn't feel like 100%, um, like, locked in, like adrenaline, like that. I think I still played fine. Like in game one, I made a really nice end game play where I like came in with a Pokemon and then swapped, anticipating he would swap, and was able to win that way. Um, so that was a really cool moment to win that game one there. But I think Potso might just be the main character, and he won the next two, and the next two were more convincing. Game one, like I won by the skin of my teeth, and then game 2 and 3, he won kind of convincingly, I remember. So it also came down. I baited with my Kingdra like twice, and he called both of them. So that helped him. Yeah, people, those maybe you Europeans are have like more stones than us Americans with these swift bait calls with all shields still up. But no, he deserved it, and I was happy for him. And yeah, the Milotic Seeking, like he just utilized very well, where he kind of freely swapped them against me, and even though they don't like hard beat anything really on my team, just like I had energy, they can be really annoying to deal with. So he just kind of freely swapped those water types and used that to his advantage.
Yeah, I believe after seeing not only Pataman's team but also how well he piloted the team, I convinced myself that 2 rollout users weren't necessary at all. Because yeah, you could have used probably okay. So Duspers, I think the reason for Duspers instead of Licky Licky was just basically being able to deal almost the same damage a little bit more consistently without stalling the timer too much, the way Licky Licky does. And same reason for Milotic, he would use Milotic as a counter swap into Licky Licky save swaps, and because you don't contribute to stalling the timer because you're not throwing body slams, and okay, you're still throwing every 9 turns, but you deal more damage with your fast move. So by the time your opponent wants to switch out again, he's already way at lower health level compared to what he would have been had you had a Licky Licky counter swap after, I don't know, maybe chipping down and sending the mirror in. So I think the way he used Milotic and Seeking, trying to get some, always those two or three packs on Seeking, that was really crucial, because being able to debuff something with Seeking before having to take a shielded decision yourself, that was game changing most of the time. I think he practiced a lot because he did exactly how many Dragon Tail Milotic needed to take care of this or that Pokemon, and he always seemed to be able to farm everything down with the right amount of health every time. So I think
Yeah.
this wasn't luck. I think it was extremely well studied. So yeah,
Oh,
very fully
absolutely.
deserved, very fully deserved run and trophy for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he won like 18 consecutive matches or something after losing early. So
Yeah, ironically, I won against the only player who won against Fatima.
oh wow.
Yeah, I won against Demon Cash. Yeah, and he was the only one who sent Pato downstairs in the lower bracket in day one.
Oh wow.
So yeah, the irony of things. Yeah, nice anecdote. Um, a quick word about Houston though. So which just happened, just took place. I know you already got a nice recap. I'll make sure I'll put the recap link on the description of this one for whomever might have lost it. But yeah, so meta slightly different. Shadow Quagsire is everywhere, and it is basically a free safe swap, unless you have Gorgeist like yourself and Alex Dune had. But I don't know, this meta, how long will it take to be solved? Because I feel there is a lot of room yet to make adjustments and to see how things settle. I feel there is one way to build, which is the 9-time clash away, the Itzaxan way. Very consolidated picks, and then you have a lot of room to try something else. You use, of course, Galarian Weezing, which is also one of your favorite Pokemon to use in PvP. But yeah, King Alexander dusted off Shadow Drapion once again after a long slumber. And yeah, Clefable here, Charger Bug, regular Alligator, Shellgun. So is this meta solved yet? Too early to say.
It seems like it's getting condensed pretty quickly. I think I think it'll be interesting to see in Sevilla this weekend how people kind of adjust, because we saw just a lot of Quag, Guzzlord, Corviknight / Empoleon, and I guess Empoleon wasn't actually as common as the other steel types like Corviknight and Fortress. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how people adapt. I was practicing early, and I was going crazy with Galarian Weezing, but I kind of wrote it off because I won 2 locals with it against some good competition, but like no one was running Emp Quag together. They might have like one or the other, but I was like, Emp Quag is so common. I think I'm gonna get rid of Weezing, but I had a Wigglytuff there, and I just kind of came up with a strat of like, if I put Weezing back, it's almost impossible to bring like Wigglytuff against me with double steal Weezing, and then I just allow the Guzzlord to go free. So the strat worked pretty well. The only games I lost were against Javier, where I felt like I got kind of perfectly hard countered, and then against Axon. And I don't know if Axon was like watching my previous matches or not, and realizing I wasn't really bringing the Fortress very often. And I was never leading the Fortress because Quag, like you said, is a pretty free swap. And I just didn't like having, I guess I could have paired it with the Gorgeist, but I didn't like Gorgeist against a lot of the teams. And if I lead Fortress, even if I win lead, right, they can kind of just swap Quag, and then I'm kind of behind immediately. So Axon kind of took advantage of that and just went ABA to Fortress with Togekiss and Corviknight, and the Togekiss was pretty problematic for me. So he whooped my butt. But yeah, other than that, it was a lot of fun. It was a fun weekend in Houston, and it'll be interesting to see how it progresses.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I forgot to update the banner. So now we have the Houston banner. But yeah, we almost finished the discussion about Houston. But any Pokemon you would run again should your next regional be next week, for example?
The Weezing, like, I don't know if I'm going to bring it again, but honestly, it was probably my MVP for this specific tournament because it just made life difficult for a lot of people, right? Like if there's, I'm looking at some of these teams like Wiggly, Shelgon, Annihilate, like that, for example, like the Weezing pressure just was really annoying for a lot of people to deal with. So Weezing was a lot of fun. I don't know if I'll be bringing it back to Orlando, but I think Guzzlord Quag has kind of established itself as like one of the top duos, and Wigglytuff was like the most commonly used Pokemon in the tournament. So who would have thought we're in 2026 and Wigglytuff is topping the usage?
Yeah, that was crazy to watch. I definitely would have not expected to make top one usage. Yeah, but I don't know. There's still time for things to change. So mm, let's have a quick word about looking forward and what you would like to see for the next rotation. I don't know, maybe it's too early. We just had a couple of regionals here with the new meta, but I always ask this question to all my guests. It's never too early to speculate and to indulge in what if, or it would be nice if. But yeah, something you would like to see coming back, or maybe like to see coming for the first time here in in the meta, or something that you would like to wipe out if you could.
As as cute as it is, I wonder like if you nerf Charm again and wipe out Wigglytuff, like I feel like that just shakes everything up. I don't know if suddenly um like Annihilate becomes like top meta again, or like Ghosts, because if you look at a lot of these teams, right, like there aren't a ton of Ghosts on these teams other than like I see the Corsola, but the thing, and I'm like Elam's such an incredible player. I was practicing with Corsola myself, and I just found it so hard to bring against these teams that oftentimes had like Wiggly and Guzzlord together.
Yeah.
But he found a way to make it work. And yeah, I don't know. The first thing that comes to mind for me is like if Wiggly goes away, maybe that shakes things up quite a bit. And what could we bring back? Well, I mean, we're starting to see Medicham come back already with Psycho Cut. So I think we might be seeing more Medicham in the coming tournaments, because it does look pretty safe in this current meta if there's no Ghost, and it even beats Wigglytuff in the Zero Shield scenario just straight up. So
yeah, I'm still waiting for the moment where Machamp will be a nice Pokemon once again. I kind of miss him. I kind of miss the guy.
Yeah, Machamp was cool. I've seen Maxi in GBL running Shadow Camerupt. I don't know if he plans on bringing that to a real tournament, but Shadow Camerupt, I don't know how you'd really buff it, honestly, but there's not a whole lot of fire. There's not a whole lot of fire right now.
Yeah, I think he just likes to mess around with something until he will bring some of them, but yeah, just keeping things very vague by running strange stuff every day in GBL. So the time he will show up with one of those things, everyone would just be caught by surprise.
Yeah,
I'm really sure he would think about bringing at least one crazy Pokemon. He always does. Like for example, Shadow Dragonair in the EUIC. I think it was maybe the only one bringing Shadow Dragonair, and yeah, it's a different flavor from all the other dragon types, and I think it has a lot of merit. The wrap damage and the debuff was probably something many players weren't really prepared for. So yeah, looking forward to see how the next regionals will shape up the meta. I won't compete myself in this rotation. I will probably show up for Turing in June, where a new update will have kicked in already, I think. So yeah, I'm just sitting back and watching and see what happens. But yeah, as a spectator, and I will be having my popcorn and see what Pato will run to win Seville next week. Yeah, we are close to wrapping everything up. Just little space for you to, I guess, to say thanks or to mention anyone around you in your bubble, and yeah, just also to let people know where they can find you, where they can follow your journey. If you still do any coaching services, just make sure you are exhaustive and you mention them all, and I will also put the link here in the description as well.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me on. It's always fun to sit down and talk Pokemon. I don't do like, podcasts too often, so I enjoy it, and I appreciate you having me. You guys can find me on Twitch, Reis2Occasion, or YouTube, Rise to the Occasion. Um, and I don't really do coaching anymore, but after seeing, Nighttime Clasher charging $50 an hour for his coaching on Twitter, I'm like, maybe I should get back into coaching. So
For
maybe
49, yeah, for $49, yeah.
yeah. So maybe yeah, keep on the lookout for that announcement coming eventually. But no coaching really right now. Um and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, so once again, thanks uh, to Rice for staying with me. It was really cool to have this 2 hour long chat against about three different tournaments, one of which you won, the other two, where you got a very decent and respectable placement. So always great to see you doing well wherever you are casting or playing. Always successful. So yeah, still. Uh, I've been excited to have you here, and yeah, maybe I'll be interviewing you once again before the season ends if you happen to win once more.
Yeah, that'd be great. No, thank you for having me. I mentioned the only player streak thing before that they talk about a lot, but I've never won more than one tournament in a season, which a lot of players have done at this point. So that would be a cool thing to add
Now
if
it's time. It's time. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So thanks once again, Chris. It's been great to have you here. Take care.
Thank you.